New week of the SportsMax Zone, and we bowl off with cricket. The West Indies will be desperate for a win in the third and final one-day international against England on Tuesday as they seek to ease their 2027 World Cup qualification troubles. The Caribbean side will be hunting valuable qualifying points after Sunday's series-defining three-wicket loss in Cardiff. The England victory was orchestrated by a batting masterclass from former captain Joe Root, who scored an unbeaten 166 to lead them to 312 for 7 in pursuit of 309 against Alzarri Joseph's 4 for 31. Earlier, Casey Carty stroked his fourth century in 9 innings, 103 to push West Indies to 308 all out in 47.4 overs. Captain Shai Hope also pitched in with 78, while Brandon King contributed 59. Adil Rashid was the pick of the England bowlers with 4 for 63 as they registered their first ODI series win since 2023. Sherfin Rutherford has been added to the squad ahead of Tuesday's game, and Fazir Mohammed joins us via Zoom to tell us how this strengthens the Caribbean side's chances for a win, plus a review of their loss on Sunday. Can we start quickly though, Faz, by a quick look back at what happened yesterday, and let's get Joe Root out of the way because we have a lot to talk about with the West Indies performance. First, England batsman to reach 7,000 runs in ODI. How good was he and how good is he?
I think what is impressive about Joe Root is that you see him at the crease and then you realize after a while, but wait, he has this score already? Because he doesn't look like the dominating player that we have grown accustomed to in the Caribbean or in many other parts of the world. People revere someone smashing it over the top or carving up the opposition and just looking intimidating by their very presence. If anything, he's the exact opposite. He looks very, very reserved, almost apologetic. But as you say, when you look at him as a batter, as a batsman, and how he's able to shift through the gears and how he's able to pick up singles very easily, something that is alien to the West Indian concept of batsmanship these days and for quite some time. He's world class. But again, because of his style, because of his demeanor, you don't think of him automatically as a global great. But he is. When you look at those numbers and the fact that with the amount of cricket that England play and the fact that he's still relatively young, he could shatter almost every record there is once he stays fit and stays hungry.
Yeah, first he escaped an LBW decision that people think he was lucky. Your thoughts on that?
Well, people will always think that based on their inherent biases. In the same way, the English could argue that Will Jacks was unlucky to be given out, to break that partnership and give the West Indies a glimmer of a hope towards the end of the match. We're going to always have this discussion about umpire's call, and I believe that somebody downstairs is working the technology to favor the white people and leave us black people in the background all the time. The fact is that this is the technology, this is what we've all signed on to. If people don't want umpire's call, then there has to be enough voices at the ICC level to get rid of it. And then when things happen that you don't like, based on being able to get away with umpire's call, you can't have it both ways.
Ricardo has some very strong views on that and also some pretty strong views on Shai Hope's captaincy in yesterday's fixture. Fast before Ricardo takes over, because I'm sure he's anxious to. Your thoughts on Shai Hope's performance as the captain in yesterday's game?
Well, first and foremost, Shai Hope should have been opening the batting and not leave Joel Andrew to do that job, because why would you throw in someone who's not accustomed to opening the batting? And if there's a scarcity of options with Evan Lewis still injured, Shai Hope has opened in all formats of the game. So why not go up to the top of the order and give the young man a chance in the middle order where he's much more comfortable? Then you have the situation with the bowling options. But before getting to that, you don't help your cause with sloppy out cricket. And England did the same thing. If they had been really sharp as they should have been, West Indies would not have gotten 308. West Indies, in the end, got that total and then didn't help their cause with some poor out cricket themselves. But even while we debate, and I'll allow Ricardo to share his views now, would we have said, on the balance of things, given the relative strengths and weaknesses of both teams, that automatically 9 times out of 10, 308 for the West Indies was a winnable total against England?
No. Well, that's an interesting question, Faz. Incidentally, I remember commenting in one of our groups yesterday that I thought the 308 was a challenging total and one that the West Indies could actually have success with if they bowled well and if they fielded well. And again, because I think there was a lot in the surface for quality bowling, and I kept saying that. And Adil Rashid, I think, showed that. Alzarri Joseph showed that. But I completely agree with you, Faz, relating to Joel Andrew opening the batting as opposed to Shai Hope, the captain, who has had so much success in that position, taking on that mantle. I also want you to comment on the West Indies not batting out 50 overs, but more specifically, to the 47th over where Alzarri Joseph got out, where he hit a 6, followed by a fortuitous 4. And based on the comments of Ian Bishop, who was on commentary, because we could not see based on what was being shown to us, the captain, Shai Hope, gave him the thumbs up, and then he was out the very next delivery.
Well, again, there are so many things that happen away from what you actually see. And sometimes we have to be careful because Bish might have interpreted things one way and so on. But the point is, the bottom line is, Ricardo, and you can't debate this. If you don't utilize your full 50 overs, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. It's as simple as that. Whether it's Alzarri Joseph not thinking or getting carried away with the big hitting or not recognizing that you need to temper it by the recognition that you've got some deliveries to play with and you can really capitalize. And 308 can be 324 or 330 and give you a fighting chance. All of that is mere speculation if you're dismissed well before the end of your allotment. So, even when limited over cricket had just started, it was one of the very fundamentals of understanding the game. Even when people were struggling with all sorts of different other issues, you've got to bat your full allotment of overs, whether it be 60 as it was in the 75 World Cup or 50 as it is now. So whether it's Alzarri Joseph throwing away his wicket recklessly, getting caught up in the big hitting, at some point you have to recognize that there's a greater responsibility to the team and bat your full 50 overs.
Yeah, part of the disappointment with that dismissal for me specifically, Faz, is that Adil Rashid was probably England's best bowler on the day, and having gotten 10 from him, for me, you just don't get out to him. It was also his final delivery of his 10 overs, so that compounds the lack of thinking for me. And then with Shai Hope well set at the other end, I'm thinking that's the man you want to be facing most of the deliveries in the last 3 or so overs. But you mentioned earlier, fans, relating to the use of the bowlers from Shai Hope. Can you expound on that for us?
Well, you saw a situation where I think Hope was caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, because you've got your strike bowlers who brought you early success. You didn't help your cause with some sloppy cricket, chance put down, run out, opportunity missed, and so on. And then you've got this pair of Root and Will Jacks really settling in. And I think Hope was for finding himself in a situation where he wanted to go with Alzarri Joseph, but wanted the early success. He didn't get it, then he changed it. He went with Jaden Seals, wanted a breakthrough, but he was mindful that he still wanted them to have enough overs at the end to be able to come back and make a difference. As it turned out, the partnership was so well entrenched, so well established, that at the end of it all, it looked like a real hodgepodge in the sense of changing bowlers regularly from almost the 29th over onwards. Every 2 overs, there was a change in bowler, because again, you had a situation where he wanted to keep strike bowlers in reserve, but he also wanted to break the partnership. And when it didn't happen instantly, he reverted to the change bowlers.
Faz, I hear you, and that's specific to Jaden Seals, because I must give him credit for bringing Jaden Seals back into the attack when he did. And you are right, he didn't get the wicket or wickets that he would have been hoping for. But the fact still remains that Alzarri Joseph had bowled really well. You were desperate for wickets as far as I'm concerned because Jackson Root were running away with the game. And then Alzarri Joseph only came back into the attack when England were very comfortable, 53 to win off 54 deliveries. And I just felt that was about 3 or 4 overs too late because we persisted with Justin Graves, we persisted with Roston Chase when, as far as I'm concerned, it was very clear that it was highly unlikely they were going to dismiss any of those set batsmen. And there was only one way for West Indies to win that game yesterday, and it was to bowl England out. So did Shai Hope wait too long to bring Alzarri Joseph back into the attack? And it didn't help the skipper that when he did, he got 2 wickets and pretty much gave West Indies a fighting chance at the back end.
Yes, absolutely. Hindsight is 20/20 vision, and yes, it does look quite clear that he should have brought on Alzarri Joseph a lot earlier. But I would balance it by saying that it's a tough task in the sense that you know that if you don't get that breakthrough, if Alzarri Joseph had come on and even bowled a couple of maiden overs, because I would expect, and England might have recognized that just see off the danger bowler in the same way that Alzarri didn't see off Adil Rashid, to see off Alzarri Joseph and let them have to calculate, should we keep him on to continue with a few more overs? So that was the conundrum. And yes, in the end, it proved wrong. But on another day, it might be a situation where he brings on Alzarri Joseph and a few lucky edges fly through where a vacant slip and it goes away for 4. That's the nature of the game. But I think, there would have been issues with his bowling changes. But I think more than anything else, the West Indies didn't help their cause in the field. And I thought it was a fundamental error to throw Joel Andrew in at the top of the order.
First, we're going to visit that Joel Andrew argument, but you mentioned the fact that hindsight is 20/20, and I totally agree with you. But I think it was pretty obvious that what Shai Hope did was make a critical mistake, because what's the sense of saving your best bowler for the back end of the innings? In the end, 1 over and a ball remained in the innings. So I would have just thrown the entire dice in that situation and hope for the best, as opposed to trying to save back your best bowlers at the back end. Don't you agree with that?
I hear you on that, Donald. And yes, it takes an element. I wouldn't say courage, because I don't believe in this thing about courage and bravery and so on, unless there's some physical risk. I think it takes a measure of confidence. Confidence in yourself as a captain and confidence in your team. And you're taking on England, who has, unlike Ireland, who after you get past the top 5, you know you've got a very good chance of knocking them over. With England, they have batting that goes all the way to 9 and possibly 10. So those are the considerations as well. But yes, in the normal course of things, and given the way he was bowling, because Alzarri really had his tail up. He was genuinely quick. He was bowling a brilliant line. He made it extremely difficult. And you're right, Donald, he should have come on a bit earlier.
Let's talk about Joel Andrew now, because I was also bemused that he actually opened the innings. And you know what's funny? In the past, the West Indies, when they were blooding even the best of young stars, you start them the lower order and they work their way up. What do you think would have been the thinking of captain and coach to say, you know what, young man, we're in England, the ball is swinging, you're facing world-class bowlers, go up and bat first up?
Well, if you want me to say it the way people might on the outside might want to say it, is that nobody else wanted to go at the top of the order. But the fact is that you would like to think that some of the more experienced players would have either taken that opportunity.
Faz, you can't treat opening the batting as putting someone at short leg, though.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
You can't treat opening the batting like putting someone at short leg.
No, I agree. But is Joel Andrew a viable option? I mean, the point is that you have to say, look, we've got some experienced players here. We don't have a regular opener. We didn't come here with a specialist third opener, and therefore we have to juggle things around a bit. Who's the obvious choice if not Shai Hope? When you talk about someone with experience in opening, why would you put someone who's now getting their feet wet at senior international cricket in such a challenging environment? I mean, if he had come off we'd all be singing his praises. We'd all be saying it was an inspired decision. But on the balance of things, with an option like the captain himself, why would you put him there?
Yeah, and the thing is, the type of innings that we usually see from Shai Hope, you kind of expect him to try and face the majority of the balls in an inning. So, and the best place to do that would be at the top of the order.
I would think so, and I think that's why it's disappointing. And I'm sure there's going to be, if the question is ever asked, there's going to be an explanation and a rationale, and they're going to dismiss all the concerns. Fine, but at the end of the day, the West Indies lost the match. And as was said in the introduction, the challenge is, because it's not about just playing for pride tomorrow, because West Indies are past masters at playing for pride, winning or losing. The thing is about points and getting enough points to gain automatic qualification, because you know what could happen to the West Indies if they have to go through the qualifiers. We were lucky in Zimbabwe in 2018. The luck didn't go our way 4 years later, and there's no guarantee it could go anyway if the West Indies have to go through the qualifying route for the next World Cup.
Yeah, of course, it didn't go well for the women just recently. One more quick one, Faz, because Ruston Chase, soon to be operating in his role as Test captain, he's batting at number 7 in this one-day international setup. Now, personally, I have a serious problem with that, because Ruston Chase, for me, is not a finisher. And having Ruston Chase at number 7 is saying to me that you expect your team to be 120 for 5 of 25 overs every single time they bat. Should Ruston Chase be batting higher in the order in this one-day international setup?
Well, Ricardo, you don't need me to answer to that response, because that is exactly the response I was going to give. When you think that you're going to be 50 for 3 and 78 for 5, you say, well, best you have Ruston Chase in the back there to try to bail us out, as happened in the match against Ireland where the West Indies lost. But he was still there towards the lower half of the order to try to stabilize things. That reflects the lack of confidence that we're talking about. And yes, the West Indies might have been on a good run towards the end of 2024 in one-day cricket. But when you are in foreign conditions, when you're playing top quality teams who are coming at you aggressively, that's when you can tell whether or not the West Indies are growing in confidence or still very, very unsure about themselves. And Ruston Chase at number 7 tells you the story.
Yeah, and before we go, Faz, Sherfin Rutherford has joined the squad. It is very likely he will play tomorrow. I don't think he would have gone there if he wasn't going to play. Do you think he'll make a difference, and do you think the West Indies can win this third ODI?
Of course, West Indies can win. This is the nature of the game. Whether he makes a difference, we'll have to wait and see. Shimron Atmaya came in yesterday, didn't make a difference, got 4 runs or 4 balls. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Can he adapt? Can he cope with the moving ball, English conditions? And again, England won points as well. So yes, they won the clean sweep, but they also won points to ensure that there are no anxious moments with their own qualification. So I think whether or not Shirfin Rutherford does well has a lot to do with his own skill, the conditions, his ability to adapt, and how hard England will go at him.
Yeah, quickly, fans, because news came through today of the West Indies squads for the T20 internationals against England and Ireland, and something that jumped out at me right away is the fact that the coach and captain, Darren Sammy, of course, all-format coach, and Ruston Chase, the test captain, will be leaving after the England T20 internationals, I guess, to return to the Caribbean to prepare for the test matches coming up against Australia. Faz, how does that news greet you?
Just to be clear, they'll be leaving before the end of the T20 series, is that correct?
The Ireland leg.
The Ireland leg. Before the Ireland leg, yes.
So the Ireland leg will not have Darren Sammy as coach, nor Floyd Reefer, the batting coach.
Yeah.
2 things. That's immensely disrespectful to Ireland, basically saying that we don't consider you to be significant enough that we need one of the regular members of our team, and indeed our head coach there. And 2, it just shows you the conundrum of having an all-format coach. So these are the challenges. And yes, if West Indies is actually prioritizing Test cricket, that's good. that's very good to see. But if it is sending the message to the opponents that, look, well, we don't really rate you all that much anyway, so we could do without Sammy and Chase, I don't think that's a good look at all.
All right, Faz, we're going to leave it there. All the best for the West Indies team on this third ODI. As we've mentioned, very, very important that they win this match to get some points for World Cup qualification. But we'll talk again tomorrow after the game.
Take care.
Okay, Fazir Mohammed, we go to break. A lot more coming up on the SportsMax Zone. Check with us after this.